The tea industry is one of the prominent and oldest industries in India. Indian economy has a remarkable share of this industry. There are more than 250 factories in South India. It is a diverse industry. More than 200 million kilograms of tea is produced every year. Turning a leaf into a sip is not that simple. Various processes affect the quality and so price of the tea. There is a large scope of work in this sector. The destination is energy efficiency.
Welcome to this presentation on the UNDP GEF assisted project Energy Efficiency in Small Sector Tea Processing Units in South India. TIDE is a not-for-profit society working for the last 15 years at the interface of science and society. We have worked in different industry clusters offering renewable energy solutions. This led us to identify an opportunity for energy conservation in tea industry.
The tea industry is an industry of people. We have a close to 2 billion Indian rupees industry. We have got 1.2 million workers directly working in it. There is always a feeling of community in the tea industry available.
But every day is not a sunny day. Tea industry in South India has seen a bad period. This gave the industry a new lesson.
In the years between 2000 and 2007, the industry went through some real tumultuous times, because that was the time when the global movement of commodities happened and the prices took an absolute nosedive. And what was a protected industry suddenly got exposed in terms of their lack of competitiveness.
The industry was facing a problem of increased cost of production. On every side, the costs were increasing. Chemicals and fertilizers, labor wages. In addition, there was labor shortage.
For about 6-7 years, there was hardly anyone who was not affected by this crisis in the tea industry. So then the planters started thinking in terms of where all they could save costs.
And naturally, the industry had to wake up and fight back from that kind of a situation.
In this period, industry looked deeply into the cost-cutting measures. So they would really look for this sort of projects where it really helps them in cutting the cost.
There is always light at the other end of the tunnel. TIDE studied the situation. The solution was cost cutting in energy usage. But it was hard to change the traditional mindset of the stakeholders.
Planters by nature are a little autocratic because they live in a very remote area. They deal with climate which they don't have much use with, and the labor force is not so educated. So definitely when TIDE came in with their suggestions for energy conservation, there was a resistance. We'll humbly admit that.
When we came to know that Tea Board is taking some initiative to help us conserve energy along with TIDE and UNDP and GEF, we were quite skeptical because we did not know what kind of help they could give us.
As an administrator, when I was the executive director of the Tea Board looking after the South Indian tea industry under the Ministry of Commerce, when this project first came up, where energy efficiency in the South Indian tea industry, I was a little skeptical because lots of such projects come up in our life as an administrator. I'll always say it is for shelf improvement and not self-improvement.
It took us almost 2 years to identify how we could overcome this barrier. With lots of studies, discussions, interviews, we realized that what was required was a very competent, committed technical team that would offer technical solutions in energy efficiency.
Normally the tea industry and the planters are always looking forward for technical assistance and help, and perhaps we have been used to in-house experts. So the fact that you had outsiders who came in, experts in their own field but probably didn't know that much about tea at that stage, and so you could get the best of both worlds.
So that was around the time when Tide came with this project and opened everybody's eyes in terms of the wastage that is taking place in the tea manufacturing factories in terms of the fuel for dryers and the power that is being used.
They came to our factory and they had their instruments and they showed us how we could save energy, and they showed us where the energy was being wasted. This helped change the mindset of many of the tea planters.
And nothing succeeds like success. Once one factory shows it, then the others, that's a bandwagon effect, and the others follow in. And then the UNDP GEF team realized that this is one project which can actually be showcased. And as one led to the other, more and more factories came inside, and we were able to showcase it to the world.
The fourth partner was Anna University. This was a very reputed university in South India. Anna University deputed its senior-most scientists to the project. With this, the last piece of the puzzle fell in place.
The tea industries were quite enthusiastic about energy conservation, but they were not really technically sound enough to understand the nuances of this. We started with implementation of the audit recommendations, starting with what we call as a nil investment proposal, and we also established the energy service laboratory where we bought, spending few lakhs of rupees, certain energy conservation equipments like energy efficient motors, automatic power factor controllers, specially designed energy efficient fans.
The project had a very effective communication strategy. It began with newsletters published quarterly, reaching to every factory in South India. There were awareness programs, participation in all key activities of Tea Board, including the International Tea Festival and the Upasi annual conferences. In these exhibitions, the energy scorecard, energy efficient equipment, posters on renewable energy, energy efficient lighting, all were demonstrated and people could get a hands-on feel. Production of video films as a communication tool came into the project a little later. It had a ripple effect, and many more factories started adopting energy efficient measures.
All the planters found that there was great scope for saving energy.
Energy is a subject which the planter is weak in. But gradually, as the Tide team slowly explained the advantages of energy saving and how we would be the ultimate beneficiaries.
The project was in an awareness creation and energy audit mode for the first 18 months. For next 2.5 years, it was in an implementation mode. 3,000 energy efficient activities were to be carried out in about 250 factories. 1,000 activities have already been implemented. This translates to 10 million kWh of electrical energy conserved per year and around 25,000 tons of firewood saved every year. The carbon footprint is also remarkably reduced.
I have to appreciate the role of UNDP and GEF and also the support of Anna University, the people who have made it possible to bring in a leadership in the community.
One of the major objectives of all GEF projects, Global Environmental Facility projects, are to mitigate greenhouse gases emissions. This project in particular has been able to reduce the carbon dioxide to the extent of 50,000 tons. It's during the project period itself, even ahead of the project deadline. It has almost made the interventions in more than 200 tea processing units against the targeted number of 30 model units. The project also envisaged an investment of about $1.5 million from these tea processing units, the private investments, but it has resulted in investments of over $3.5 million.
It has really created that kind of awareness among the tea factory owners as well as the planters to continue this effort. And I'm sure that their cooperation and their pursuance would definitely continue, because they have actually seen the result. So it will be an irreversible change.
I firmly believe it is an irreversible process, because the advantages or the cost savings what has been demonstrated has been well received by the industry, and it can be replicated and take it forward. So it is an irreversible process, not a reversible one.
I'm sure that tea has been a great success story, and I'm sure it will lead to the carbon credit for the first time, and the various interventions are here to stay. People have understood. The difference was we have made people understand how important it is to conserve electricity in an energy deficient and energy starved country like India.
The planters realized that okay, they were talking sense and bringing in something which would in the long term, medium and long term, actually make their business model more efficient, and would not only lead to savings in terms of money, but also in terms of the sustainability of the sector.
Energy conservation is nothing but 80% common sense and 20% technical sense. The 80% common sense was there with every one of us, and the 20% technical sense was provided by the TIDE project, which resulted in, as you could see, wonderful results.
We would be very happy to see that TIDE, institution like TIDE, becomes a partner in the other initiatives of UNDP, since they have been able to showcase this as a best case example.
This project is successful. The credit goes to all the people who are part and are stakeholders in this initiative.
So our plan is to go to the northeast and northern area, so that the benefit of this project should reach out to all the stakeholders in tea industry. That is the prime idea for the tea board.
The tea industry has seen difficult times. God forbid it should not see that experience again. But even if it does, the lessons of sustainability and good environmental practices will be with them. This is a success story, and we are happy to be a small part of it.